and it really wasn't that bad. Like, no one was really focused on attacking him, and I really think, I mean, this may sound a little bit conspiratorial, but like, nobody in the debate really gave Pete Buttigieg any chance to attack him. Like, it's just nobody really did it. The moderators didn't really give it a chance to attack. Like, healthcare wasn't brought up. Paying for plans wasn't really brought up that much. It was mostly stuff that pretty much everyone could agree on. Talking about, like, the military, talking about President Trump, talking about, like, white supremacist terror. Like, there was no major differences exposed by the questions, which is a real problem. And, like, I think in a Democratic debate, you gotta focus on the issues that divide the Democratic Party, because that's what Democratic voters want to know about. They want to know about the differences. So it's pretty crazy that wasn't really taken into consideration at all. So Buttigieg kind of pretty much settled on stage. When Senator Amy Klobuchar took a swipe at him as a local official, he was ready with a retort, saying, quote, "There's almost 100 years of Washington experience on the stage, and where are we as a country?" Like, you really want to tell me that you're an outsider, Pete? Like, again, that's just the probably the thing that the tack that Pete took that grinds my gears. Like, it's just so annoying. Like, how in the damn world, like, do you expect me to get behind the proposition that, okay, he's a real outsider. Everyone's scared of him. When we got people like Bernie Sanders, we got people like Elizabeth Warren in the debate, who literally have had billionaires on TV crying over them. Like, Elizabeth Warren, this guy named Leon Cooperman just, like, literally broke down in tears on CNBC over the idea of Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders' presidency. Like, those are outsiders right now. Those are people that the establishment does not want to see become president. Like, that's who I qualify as an outsider, not someone who just has happened to be in Washington for a long time. Because as Bernie Sanders shows, you could be in Washington for 10, 20 years, and people could still very much hate you. Like, that's really the reality of the situation there. And you could be also a mayor of a small town, which is 15% like below the poverty line, massive disparities between African Americans and whites in the population. I don't want to slander South Bend here. Percent of South Bend below poverty line. Let's see. Oh, yeah, sorry, 25.4. I was wrong. 25.4% of the population for whom poverty status is determined in South Bend. Indiana, out of 25.3 thousand people, out of 99.6 thousand people. Like, that is, like, you don't get to be the mayor of that city winning by, like, 8,000 votes and then get to be a national contender for the Democratic nomination without being an insider, without having the right connections from somewhere. I don't know. Pete Buttigieg does not want to tell us what he did when he was over there in McKinsey. He just doesn't. He wants to keep closed-lipped about it, which is, I mean, I guess okay. But, like, he's got to answer that question, or just shut his mouth about how he is, like, doesn't have Washington experience. Like, please. Like, I'm totally for, like, people with, you know, I mean, I really think some of the best lines that have come out of the debate were things like that, where people, like, saying, we had Washington experience for a long time. Like, look where that got us. Like, and that really just didn't land. It really just did not land. Because people are sick and tired of Washington experience. They want a different change, but, like, people really need to start realizing, and when they do inevitably start kind of throwing hands a little bit more on each other, like, they cannot call Pete Buttigieg an outsider, because, like, again, as I said before, look what happened to Wayne Messim. He, like, suspended his campaign. He like, did you even know he was running? I guarantee you no. But yeah, he suspended his campaign. He's the mayor of Miramar, Florida. And yeah, it's the population of 122,000 people. So that's literally more than much more than people who are much more than South Bend. It's like 40,000 more than South Bend. So yeah, and like they actually somehow don't have a crazy poverty rate. Let's see, the poverty rate for Miramar, Florida, 10.1. So like, hey, yeah, it's kind of just the reality of the situation there. When Tulsi Gabbard accused Buttigieg of, this is going to be interesting to see how the New York Times covers this exchange here. When Gabbard accused Buttigieg of saying he wanted to send troops to Mexico, he brushed her aside. Do you seriously think anyone on the stage is proposing invading Mexico? Pretty much, again, a complete misrepresentation of what she said. And here's a response to this attack.
On the Foreign Affairs Committee, on the Armed Services Committee, on the Homeland Security Committee, meeting with leaders of countries around the world, working with military commanders of different commands, dealing with high-level national security briefings, understanding what's necessary, the preparation that I've gotten to walk in on day one to serve as Commander-in-Chief.
Congresswoman, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll allow you to respond.
I know that it's par for the course in Washington to take remarks out of context, but that is outlandish.
He does need to have good judgment. And what you've just pointed out is that you would lack the courage to meet with both adversaries and friends to ensure the peace and
That's a
national
response
security.
to him saying, by the way, you met with Bashar al-Assad. Banned for you.
Of our nation. I take the example of those leaders who have come before us, leaders like JFK, who met with Khrushchev, like Roosevelt, who met with Stalin,
like Donald Trump,
Reagan,
who met
who met and worked with Gorbachev. These issues of national security are incredibly important.
And again, just one of the stupidest snide remarks. Like she comes in with all these examples of presidents meeting with adversaries for incredibly good results. Like, are you just going to stand in a corner and pout and not try to make peace as an excuse to send more troops to war? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're trying to say a Pete Buttigieg administration is going to be like? Like, what? Like, you don't want to... That's how you negotiate, you idiot. Like, that's how you make change. Like, I just don't get it. I do not get it. Yeah, so here's her complete response.
We'll meet with and do what is necessary to make sure that no more of our brothers and sisters in uniform are needlessly sent into harm's way fighting regime change wars that undermine our national security. I'll bring real leadership and experience to the White House.
I've got to respond.
I don't agree with the wealth tax, the way that Elizabeth Warren puts it.
All right, so that's Cory Booker. We don't really need to get into her. They had a little bit of a spar about the wealth tax, but here's
It's
Kamala and we don't have to get to this, but all right. Klobuchar had a nice debate. The Minnesota senator, who's on a slow climb, she's not going anywhere, but she drew stark distinctions between herself and candidates she perceives as her most effective foils, Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren. In debate devoid of any signature moments or signature rhetorical battles, Klobuchar delivered a performance designed to appeal to Democrats nervous about, again, the party's left return and unsure whether to hand the party to a 37-year-old executive of Indiana's fourth largest city. I'm not going to go for things because they sound good on a bumper sticker and then throw in a free car, Klobuchar said. And by the way, again, something's up with her. Like, I mean, I don't want to be rude. She may have some sort of like a condition, but she always just seems to kind of like her hair just seems like bouncing off her head. But I don't want to be rude. Because she may have a condition about that. So I apologize if she does, but someone like, please inform me here. But I don't know. I kind of feel bad because it looks like she's a little nervous there. She's like, or maybe she's just passionate about what she's saying, which is totally cool too. But again, she just did not win the debate. I'm sorry. Cory Booker also really felt like got almost an inordinate amount of speaking time here. He landed a pretty tough hit against Biden, which is a pretty bold thing to say, especially coming from the end of the stage, talking about how maybe Biden was high for saying that he opposed marijuana legalization on the federal level, saying, quote, marijuana in our country is already legal for privileged people, which, I mean, it's very true, very true. Again, I wish it just wasn't him that was saying it. We need to inspire. We need someone that can inspire, as Kamala said, to inspire African Americans to the polls in record numbers. And he closed with one of the most direct pleas of the evening, pretty much. Don't make me drop out. Don't make me drop out, please, please. Like, that's pretty much what it anointed to, so, or boiled down to here. So, yeah, I do want to get to, you know what, before we move on, because I do want to talk a little bit about some impeachment drama here, and about what we've been able to see from that. Yeah, and let's start with, let's finish up our debate talk with a little bit of a quick summation about how everybody did. Joe Biden, I think probably he was the least effective. I mean, he still sounded like incredibly doddering. We've seen a little bit less coverage about that in the media, but he just had a major slip up that led to him making himself really look like a fool in the debate last night. I mean, I think Cory Booker had a net positive night as well. Honestly, I think he kind of seemed a little bit less like clowny than usual. It's like, oh, let's just all get along. But like, it's harder to get pissed off at people because there were really no divisive issues discussed whatsoever. None. Absolutely none. Like, it was just literally the whole idea of it's just insane to think that like they were just literally agreeing with each other the whole time. I think the moderators, plural, like largely bear some responsibility for that. It's just no major divisive issues that people like care about in the Democratic Party, like issues that divide, really discussed whatsoever. So it was hard to really draw distinctions. But Booker, in terms of, he made some pretty good points, especially on social issues, although he did really sound pretty lame on the wealth tax issue. Pete Buttigieg, again, I mean, I think he didn't hold up really very well against Tulsi Gabbard, but I mean, other than that, no one really attacked him. But I guess it was fine. Gabbard, I think, she's burned all her bridges. That's the best part about her, I think. She's burned all her bridges. She's not trying to make nice with the Democratic Party after calling Hillary Clinton literally the personification of the rot we see in the Democratic Party. Like, she's not out there to make friends anymore. Like, that time for her is past. Now it's only purely about saying how she really feels, and I'm here for it, as they say. Kamala Harris, I mean, nothing really memorable from her. Bernie Sanders also held even with, I'd say, a consistently alright performance. Tom Steyer, I mean, what I worry about is, like, he really, like, flipped some people over with his, like, anti-billionaire rhetoric coming from a billionaire. Like, to me, that's just letting the fox into the henhouse here. Elizabeth Warren, kind of same thing as Bernie, held even, but nothing too crazy. And Andrew Yang, again, I think he really, I mean, every time he, like, speaks, which is barely, because for some reason the media just, like, gives him, like, literally Tom Steyer more speaking time, which just kills me. It kills me. Give my boy Yang some speaking time. But, like, again, he's just probably one of the most likable people that I just don't agree with. Like, that's the reality of the situation. But in terms of who I think stole the night, I think that was Tulsi Gabbard with some two roundhouses on both Buttigieg and what's his name? Kamala Harris. But I mean, again, I think the big problem with Bernie Sanders is the fact that he's just not being talked about that much. I think in the future he really needs to, like the last debate, that was a killer in my opinion. That was just a killer debate for him because he did a great job. He was angry. He was pissed. He was throwing those roundhouse punches and people were talking about him. And people were like, damn, that was quite a, like, he kind of went off. Bernie kind of went off for real, though. Like, that's the reality of the situation there. Yeah, that was just not this time. So, anyway, we are moving on. And we're going to talk about what is going on today in the impeachment inquiry. Pretty crazy. The final White House impeachment hearing of the week gets underway Thursday morning with joint testimony from Fiona Hill, a former Europe and Russia expert from the White House, and David Holmes, an embassy official in Kyiv. Hill is expected to describe her concerns about the Ukraine pressure campaign and those of John Bolton, the former national security advisor. So pretty much she's going to come in there and